welcome all. So I know we wanted to hear mostly from the ladies here. So I'm gonna maybe jump right into that. So I need Molly or Grace to tell me, first of all, give us an overview of, you were in the American Legion Oratorical contest, correct? And what was that all about, and how many layers did that take, and where did it take you? I'll leave it up to one of you ladies.
Molly, do you want to explain or do you want me to?
We can take turns.
Yeah, we can take turns or whatever. You can go ahead if you want.
Okay. So basically, Molly and I were approached by our history teachers, which tells, I think, every history class in the school, about the American Legion Oratorical Contest. And our task at the high school level was to give a 8 to 10 minute prepared speech on a part of the American Constitution that specifically focused on the obligation of an American citizen to its government. So Molly and I advanced from the high school round to the district round. And in the district and the state round, you also give a 3 to 5 minute speech on one of 4 sections of the Constitution that they give you ahead of time. So we prepared 4 speeches, and they pick randomly on the day of which one you're going to give. Wow, so we participated in those 3 rounds together.
Okay, so let me put you on hold here for a second, just to ask. So how many students at the high school started off?
I think it was about 6 people at the high school round, and then when we went to the district or regional round, we thought it was going to be more people, but it was actually just the 3 people from Scituate High School. And then from there, me and Grace went to states where there were 5 contestants. So the high school.
So where were districts and states held? Steve?
I don't want to interrupt. I just do want to thank the folks at the Scituate Legion Post. They've sponsored this contest for years and years. They're really committed. We haven't ever done as well in terms of winning outstanding speeches as before. Like, this is a banner year for that. But always, the folks in the Legion are real proud of the participation of Scituate students, and it's something that's it's been going on for, maybe it's getting up towards 15 years. So I just want to thank the folks at the Legion for their support. But sorry to interrupt. You guys are doing
well. We thank them also. So I was just saying, so you had 6 students to high school. 3 of you advanced to districts, and where were the districts?
They were in
Somerset, right?
Yeah, they were
in Somerset.
And then from the districts, you continued on and you went to the states.
Yeah.
Right?
Which
and
were
where
in
was that? Where was that?
Bedford, Massachusetts.
Okay. And how many people were at states?
There was only 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Because I think that there's 4 zones. So I think 2 people go, or one of the zones nobody participated, but it was Molly and I, and then
like zones in the state, right?
Yeah, in the state. So it was Molly and I from our zone, and then there were 2 kids from one of the other zones, and then 1 kid from a 3rd zone, and then I think the 4th zone didn't participate. Okay. Because I know that 2 of the other kids knew each other too.
Okay.
So it was 5 in total.
So, and was the format the same in the districts and the state? Was it you were given things to prepare for, and then randomly they said, okay, speak on this?
Yeah, so it was like we knew beforehand of 4 possible topics that they would choose from, and we'd have 5 minutes to prepare like a 3 to 5 minute speech about it. Okay. So the topics were, I think, Article 1, Section 7, Article 2, Section 3, Article 3, Section 1, and the 22nd Amendment, Section 1. And for us, both times, the 22nd Amendment, Section 1 was chosen. So it was kind of an advantage for us.
So back up us old timers. What's the 22nd Amendment?
It sets term limits for the president.
Okay. So both of you discussed, or both of you made a presentation on why term limits were good, or why we should have term limits, or what was your?
You basically have to explain, I think like the part that everybody does the same is you explain the like historical background of the section of the Constitution and what it says. And then you're supposed to connect it to one of the foundational principles of the Constitution, which I think towards the end is where everybody does it a little differently. So I think that the selected part of the Constitution, that part of the contest is really interesting to see like how each of us kind of goes differently, like off the same topic. And we don't get to see each other, so I have no idea what Molly said.
Yeah. So this is our first time like hearing each other's speeches.
Cool.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So, well, they have to. I mean, they have to sort of put you in a soundproof room, right, while someone else
Yeah.
is doing their presentation, because otherwise, maybe that person's got the same topic like you guys did. Okay. And so, and what were the results of states?
Grace won.
I did win, yes. That was unexpected. And then two boys who are from different parts of the state got second and third, and then Molly got fourth, and then a third girl got fifth, and we all got trophies,
Very nice.
which were quite comical. Like,
Big.
they were large.
Have you got the trophies?
Mine is downstairs.
I have mine.
Yes, I want to see trophies.
This is
Yay.
Oh.
fourth place.
Grace, go get your trophy. Great.
Do I really have to go get it?
Yes, we want to see a trophy. Are you kidding me?
Okay, I'll be back in 10 seconds.
Okay. We can wait 10 seconds, sure.
And I want to add, just as Grace is running down and back, the participants are remarkably independent. You know, we read out the announcements, we encourage them to do it. Mr. Roberts, another teacher, and I sort of give them some advice about the basics, what's expected. But then they write their own speech, and it can be any topic whatsoever. And so the contestants do that, the students, and then we sort of say, oh, for the next round, surprise, there's just going to be this other part that you have to figure out these four things. And then they do that. You know, we say, look, you got to know what it is and then explain it, and they read the directions and all that. So in wonderful, wonderful ways, these two, Grace and Molly, are like creative and purposeful, and they went after this in a way that brought them fantastic success and resulted in Grace bringing back a trophy that looks like,
Ta-da.
yeah!
Wow. Very
It's
nice.
bigger than my head. It was quite excessive, I think, but
Ah,
There's nothing wrong with that.
I got to figure out how to
Awfully
get
nice.
a picture of
Congratulations.
you
Beautiful.
guys with your trophies.
Congratulations.
Hmm.
So were you girls queued up to give us your presentation tonight?
Yeah, we can.
Each in a what, a 4 or 5 minute presentation? I mean,
They're like 10 minutes.
yeah, they're 10 minutes.
okay. Well,
I don't have mine memorized, but I will read it with great inflection.
okay. Well, who should we start with, Molly or Grace?
Molly, I'll let you choose.
I can go ahead. Okay.
So topic was,
So the topic, my speech is about the 19th and First Amendment, and the 19th Amendment is the women's right to vote, and the First Amendment is, gives us the freedom of speech, the right to assemble, and the right to petition the government. So here I go, I guess. The Constitution grants us many rights, each important in our own way. Although the right that best signifies the values that our nation was founded on is our right to vote. Since I was young, I've been going to the polls with my parents nearly every election. And when I was a young girl, walking into a crowded gymnasium to wait in a long line may not have seemed too exciting. But to me, there was always something almost magical about watching the town take a day to gather and exercise their rights. And as I watched the machines process and the excitement and nerves on people's faces, it made me feel like I was a part of something so important, and a process that I couldn't wait to be a part of. Voting signifies a duty that each citizen in this country has, and once that right is used, they are forever part of the democracy that we form today. I just turned 16 in September, and one of the first things that I did was register to vote. And about a week after I registered online, I received a letter in the mail that was addressed to me that confirmed I had registered to vote. And in this moment, a joy and excitement sparked inside of me, as it finally felt so real to me that I am not just the daughter of Sarah and Ben Ryan, but I am a voter. I am a citizen of the United States of America, and the values that I have and the actions that I take matter and affect our democracy. It is now my duty to stay informed and aware of current events so that when it comes my time to vote, I can make informed decisions that will help our nation. Now, marking all the way back to the founding of the United States, the right to vote gave people a voice. But the reason why I today have a voice is because of the 19th Amendment, which was ratified almost exactly 100 years before I registered to vote on August 18th, 1920. 100 years ago, women had no voice in society. And today, thanks to their efforts, not only can I use my voice, but I can also be heard. The Constitution was ratified in 1787 as a way to set up an effective structure of government and to grant individuals freedoms and liberties that were not available under the previous British rule. The founding fathers of our nation, such as George Washington and John Adams, were smart, educated men who were all devoted to our nation. But as they were all generally white and wealthy, they lacked multiple perspectives to be able to create a nation where each individual is treated equally. Women during this time were prompted to be quiet and submissive wives who kept to their home and to their family. And historians have labeled this the cult of true womanhood. Because although these women played essential roles in society as mothers, they lacked representation and rights in their government. Many women grew tired of this system and simply wanted the same rights that those of the opposite gender had. Men simply had to live, but women had to prove themselves worthy of being a part of society. Since the writing of the Constitution, white men were put on a pedestal while everyone else was automatically second class. But since then, the Constitution has been amended and to this day protects the rights of each and every individual in our nation. The Constitution is an essential part of our democracy and allows our country to have the security and stability that it does today. The Bill of Rights came soon after the Constitution in 1790 and comprises of our first 10 amendments. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees all Americans the right of free speech, the right to assemble, and the right to petition the government. I want you each to think, how does change get made in our society? How do the people take action when seeking change in our government? We speak, we protest, we petition, we make our voices heard. And this is exactly how the 19th Amendment was ratified and how I am given the voice I have today. The 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote, and as it was ratified in 1920, the process of gaining this right took nearly a century of dedication and perseverance to achieve. In 1848, the Seneca Falls Convention marked the true beginning of the women's suffrage movement. During this convention, men and women met and discussed the rights of women to be treated equally in society. During this time, women could not vote and therefore had to abide by laws in which they did not consent. They could be denied education, they could be prevented from owning property, and any money that they made automatically went into the possession of their husbands. The Declaration of Sentiments created 11 resolutions to such inequalities, all of which were passed except for the 9th, which was a women's right to vote. It wasn't until 72 years after the Seneca Falls Convention that women were finally granted this right. The use of picketing and protesting made enormous strides in their campaign. In the winter of 1917, women marched every single day for 2 months from the headquarters of the National Women's Party in Washington, D.C., to the White House. And with their banners, they asked President Woodrow Wilson to support them in their fight to give women the right to vote. Those fighting for the 19th Amendment established a legacy defending their First Amendment rights. The women picketing, protesting, and voicing for change showed the strength and power of the First Amendment. The 19th Amendment didn't just grant women the right to vote, it was also a trailblazer for the utilization of our rights in order to make significant changes. Many argued that by granting women the right to vote, it was going against the origins of our Constitution. But this is proven to be false, as these women were in fact utilizing the rights given to them in the Constitution to better our democracy. These women were told that they were not smart enough to vote, that their goals were pointless. But did this stop them? These remarks are what powered their fight. Imagine if these women had given up. Imagine if I had to sit at home and watch the boys my own age go out and determine my own future. Change is good, and change is necessary in our democracy. Think of the power and potential our country could gain if each citizen recognized it as their duty to utilize the rights given to them in the Constitution to make the changes they want to see in the world. The Constitution grants us our rights, but the way in which we use them is how we repay the men and women who fought for them and change our society for the better. The 19th Amendment brought much of the nation together as women and men across the country were fighting for women's suffrage. In fact, I recently learned of women in Scituate who were fighting for equality from a book called Summer Suffragists, which highlights the activism of women summering in Scituate. A young woman by the name of Mary Forrest was one of the founders of the National Women's Party. Mary may have walked on the same beaches that I do today, driven on the same roads, or walked in the same woods. And little did she know that her hard work would allow every single little girl growing up in Scituate today to know that she is equal, that she matters, and that her potential is limitless. It is my duty to honor those men and women who fought for me and all the women in our nation. That is why, in the fall of 2022, when I am eligible to vote, I will go to the polls and I will cast my vote for candidates that continue the legacy of the United States as a place where each individual is given the same freedoms, rights, and opportunities, regardless of their gender. It is because of the effective use of the First Amendment that the 19th Amendment was ratified, and I, in 2 years, am able to say that I am a voter. Thank you.
Wow.
Molly, that was so good.
Thank you.
I'm very curious for like 3 months.
And I want to thank Mr. Sweat for getting me involved in all this, because I've really enjoyed it. And thank you guys for having me. This is really cool.
So Steve, you're on mute. So I wanted to ask. So Steve, were you a judge in the first round?
In the first round, yeah, Mr. Roberts and I, and then some of the folks from the Legion are the judges at the school level. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you and Mr. Roberts.
I'd heard that before, at least once, but it didn't stop it from affecting me.
Yeah. And were the topics, ladies, completely up to you, or Steve, did you help? So you got, so Molly, you zeroed in on the First Amendment and the 19th, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like, I wasn't sure what to do. And then I I think I started with the 19th, and then I kind of added in the First Amendment because I realized like that's how it was kind of
Precursor.
achieved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Molly, I was so interested, like, I think I haven't before heard anyone who used back and forth in time in the way you did. Well, how did you come up with that stuff?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it was interesting to do the two because I feel like it can apply to current day and everything. So it was interesting.
Very well done.
Yep.
Thank you.
Very well
Excellent.
done.
Excellent.
Very well done.
It was
So that
inspirational.
was the presentation that moved you to the districts.
So we had to do like the 22nd Amendment one at district
okay.
and states, but we also had to do this one. So I did this one at the high school, the districts, and the states ones too.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so this was your consistent presentation, but then you also had to were given options to look. You got 4 minutes to deal with this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Very well done. Very well done. And Grace, you had never heard, you had never heard Molly make the presentation before.
I think it's fair to make it known that Molly beat me in the high school round.
Okay.
So Mr. Smith, mine is different that I gave it after the high school round I changed mine. So Mr. Sweat hasn't heard mine either, even though it's on the same topic. It's
Okay.
like so.
Well, that's a perfect segue to handing it over to you, Grace.
I just want Mr. Sweat to make sure he knows that he's not muted. Because I thought that.
If I want to like shout at the monitor or something, no, what, no!
I could just see that happening.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So so we could do it on anything, which you'll see mine's quite different than Molly's. So I did mine on the foundational idea of the separation of powers in the Constitution and how that enables citizens to uphold their obligations to the government, just as a quick summary. Okay. If angels were to govern men, neither internal nor external controls on government would be necessary. When framing a government that is to be administered by men, however, the great difficulty lies in this. First, you must allow the government to control its people. In the next place, you must oblige that it controls itself. In 1788, 10 years after the adoption of the Articles of Confederation, James Madison wrote those words in Federalist 51. Our soon-to-be fourth president used this paper to persuade the American people that the chaotic state of the nation under this faulty government system must come to an end, that the central government must be made stronger, that the United States Constitution must be ratified. Knowing that the American people had just escaped the horrors of the British monarchy, James Madison made sure to address their fear of tyranny. Madison explained that while strong, the central government would still be limited through the fundamental principle of the separation of powers. As outlined in Articles 1, 2, and 3 of the Constitution, the federal government is divided into 3 distinct branches: the legislative branch, which writes the laws, the executive branch, which enforces the laws, and the judicial branch, which interprets the laws. By dividing the powers of the government into distinct bodies, it not only prevents one governing body from becoming too powerful, it creates checks and balances between them. This incentivizes each branch to stay within the bounds of the powers specifically enumerated to them. For example, the executive branch can check the legislative branch through the presidential veto, as stated in Article 1, Section 7. In response, the legislative branch can override this veto with a 2/3 majority vote in both houses of Congress, passing the piece of legislation and checking the executive branch. In 1973, President Nixon used this veto against the War Powers Act, which would limit the president's ability to command the military without congressional approval. However, Congress overrided this veto and passed the legislation limiting the power of President Nixon. Both the executive and legislative branches check the judicial branch because, as explained in Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, the President appoints Supreme Court justices, which the Senate then has to approve. This gives these two branches of government complete control over who makes up the most important body of the judicial branch. Article 3, Section 1 gives the judicial branch power by establishing the Supreme Court, which overrules all other courts in the country. While the judicial branch's check on the other two branches is not specifically stated in the Constitution, the Supreme Court uses its constitutional power to gain this check through the 1803 Supreme Court case of Marbury versus Madison. Through this case, the Supreme Court gained the power of judicial review, which allows them to rule any action of the executive or legislative branch unconstitutional. Being used almost 200 times since its inception, this gives the Supreme Court immense power. This separation of power, however, does not only exist between the three branches of the federal government, it also exists between the federal and the state government. The 10th Amendment to the Constitution states that any powers not specifically enumerated to the federal government automatically belong to the states. This allows the states to implement laws specific to the needs of their citizens, while also checking the power of the federal government. When studying the foundational principle of the separation of powers throughout high school, it always seemed obvious to me that this system would prevent the government from infringing upon citizens' rights. However, after recently looking at it from a new point of view, it has also become clear that this system significantly impacts a citizen's ability to fulfill their civic responsibilities. It's the government's responsibility to protect citizens' natural rights. And if it fails to do so, it becomes the citizens' responsibility to hold them accountable. This means using the power of our speech and actions to challenge and change our government for the better. This is our right, this is our duty, and this is our obligation. And this wouldn't be possible without the separation of powers. Without the separation of powers, every time a citizen had a complaint or concern for the government, it would have to be dealt with by one governing body. This would not only be inefficient, it would be impossible. It would be impossible for one governing body to be held responsible for upholding 330 million American citizens' rights, and in turn, the American people would suffer. But thanks to the separation of powers, a citizen can take their issue to multiple levels and multiple branches of government, which each serve a specific purpose. This makes it possible for an American citizen to fulfill their obligation to the government. If you think the government is failing to protect your rights, if the traffic light in the center of town is causing weekly car accidents, risking your right to life, you can take this to your town selectman on the local level, or your state representative, your state senator, your governor, or the state courts. If you think a new piece of your state legislation is violating your right to free speech, you could contact your US senator, your congressman, the president, one of the many executive agencies, or take it all the way to the Supreme Court. While this may seem unattainable, citizens have created significant change at the federal level all throughout history. Take Oliver Brown in 1954, for example. He brought the Topeka Board of Education to the Supreme Court, arguing that the segregation of public schools violates the 14th Amendment, which ensures all citizens equal protection under the law. When the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Oliver Brown, it proved not only that one citizen could create significant change, but that without the separation of power between the federal and the state government, and between the branches of government within the state level, this progress would not have been possible. So when considering a citizen's obligation to our government, we may quickly think of the First or Second Amendment. But upon close inspection, it is the fundamental principle of the separation of powers that allows us to utilize these rights and so many more in an effective manner. While it may not be specifically written in the United States Constitution, the biggest check against the power of the American government is not found in the three branches of the federal government or in the complex relationship of federalism. The biggest check against the power of the American government is the power of the American people. That's it.
That was amazing, Grace.
Very well done, Grace.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I'm struck by not only how well you ladies deciphered some of these amendments, but also are you looking at their applicability in today's world, because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on that sort of covers some of these, touches on some of these things. Trump, Supreme Court, states' rights for voting. I mean, it's endless. And the right to speak up. So, I mean, you guys are all muted. You can unmute, please, and respond. But I'm just listening to you talk and thinking, wow, you guys, hopefully you guys are also paying attention to today's world, because there's a lot of stuff going on that
Yeah.
that's applicable from things that were put in the Constitution 200 years ago.
Yeah, when I was listening to Grace's, I was just like, I feel like so much of it could be used in today's world. And it's just interesting to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
We'll say one of the pieces of advice that that we gave Molly and Grace was to realize that they didn't know who the judges would be. They didn't know if they would be Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal, and the contest itself is nonpartisan.
It
You know
should,
what I mean?
yeah, right.
Foundational documents and principles in our country. Having said that, I'm sure both the girls have their own private opinions about how they interpret certain actions in the recent past and certain actions in the related to constitutional principles, but they may not choose to share those with you this evening.
That's fine. I understand. That's
I actually
all right.
have a funny
Well
story
put.
about that. At the zone level, I said in my speech when I was listing all of the people you could bring your problem to in the government, after I said the president, I said good luck with that, meaning because the president, like the office of the president, not even meaning like our president. I meant like good luck, like the president isn't going to take your call, like he's too busy. But one of the judges thought I meant like good luck with that based on President Biden. And they were like, just at the state level, try to keep your own political opinions out of it. And I was like,
Oh,
that's not what I meant.
that's not what you meant.
Which was, I thought that was pretty funny. And that was really,
Are you both juniors?
I'm a senior, Molly's
Being
sophomore.
a sophomore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Impressive. Both of you very impressive.
Molly, are you eligible to do this again next year because of your
Yeah.
junior?
So now I have a question. So did you, were you able to deliver your speech with notes, like note cards, or did you have to do it without note cards?
No, it all had to be memorized.
Oh, very good. That's good. Thank you.
And so, Molly, you're actually eligible if you're interested to do it again next year.
Yeah.
Great.
I feel like, I don't know, I'm definitely interested. Just the whole idea of writing a whole new speech is kind of,
A lot
Great
of work.
practice.
yeah, but yeah, we'll see.
Very good.
So,
Very well
so is
done.
maybe Steve knows, or all of you know, is it a different topic every year? It doesn't always stay with the Constitution.
It's always the one that the girls presented tonight, which is the prepared oration, is the same every year. It's just because the students can choose whatever they want to in the Constitution. So that's one is always wide open. The four, I forget what they call them, required, optional, what do they call the fourth parts?
I'm not sure, but
They had a very specific name, you're right.
Is it prepared? No, it's not prepared oration.
No, is it, I required? No.
It might be. Those change. The four short ones
Right.
that get drawn out of a hat and then they have to respond to, those change every year.
Okay.
But the first one is always wide open for students to choose what they choose to focus on and what they choose to say about it.
And you don't hit the 4 options until you get to the district, though, right?
Right.
Okay.
I did mention that I presented in, Mike and I went to Berkeley High School, and this was almost 60 years ago. And but our topic was moral integrity imperative for survival. So did they also say how that ties in with the Constitution? I don't have any idea. I have no memory of that. I just remember the topic I was presented.
Approximately what decade was that?
What do you mean? Counts. I was I graduated in 1964.
Okay.
Mike graduated shortly after that.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that you remember the topic of the presentation.
I don't remember much else. I think
Right.
I must have really memorized the topic well enough.
Very good.
Well, we can certainly open it up if anyone has any questions for Grace or Molly or Steve. You ladies made wonderful presentations and very well done. Like, how long did you have to work on this stuff?
it was long. I think for the first round, I think we knew like 2 weeks in advance, maybe. So we had like 2 weeks to write the speech and memorize it.
Memorize it
Yeah.
Wow.
and practice it.
Hmm.
Right?
What's Grace's plan on graduation?
What was that?
What
He
is your
said-
plan on graduation, after
Your plans for
graduation, college?
graduation or post-graduation, you were saying?
Oh, I'm going to the University of Virginia.
Oh,
So-
very good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll be there with Thomas Jefferson's University. I had to go.
Wow.
I'm
Nice
not going to
place.
pretend that wasn't the deciding factor. I don't.
It was one of them, though.
Charlottesville's a nice place. That's a beautiful campus.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yes, very.
So Grace, are you going to go into law?
Yes, I'm majoring in. It's called political philosophy, policy, and law, which is fancy for political science. And I'm on a pre-law track. So.
Wow.
Perfect.
Good.
Molly, do you think you want to go into law too at this point?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure at all yet, but
Got time.
that sounds interesting. I'll have to ask Grace if she likes it. Come visit her at UVA.
Well, knowing that the Rotary is focused on volunteerism, I suspect that both of you have at some point done some volunteering someplace, maybe not, but if you have, I think of volunteering as doing something that you're not paid for. So it could actually, you could volunteer to help grandma too, but I think that, something that you might have written in your letter of, do you have anything there? Grace, maybe since you're doing that now?
Do you mean just what volunteering I've done in the past, you mean?
Yeah.
I went on, every year the school sends 60 kids to West Virginia on the Appalachian Service Project. So that's probably the most significant volunteering I've done. So you go for 10 days and help build houses for families in need. And so that was probably the most impactful volunteer project I've done.
And you worked at the polls, didn't you?
I did volunteer at the polls, yes.
Oh, good.
Good.
Yeah. I also,
For
well,
elections in the high school, right?
yeah. I was an intern on State Senator O'Connor's campaign this fall too.
Hmm.
So I don't know if I was volunteering for a political campaign. So, you know, if you like him, that's a good thing. If you don't, that's not.
It's still volunteer. Either way, it's volunteering and it's helping the political process work by getting information out there so voters can make decisions. So counts double.
So Molly, it sounds like at least Grace was able to go on that West Virginia trip more than once. Have you been able to get on that trip?
No, I think because of COVID, like it didn't run last summer, but
Yeah.
they do it. For volunteering, in the winter, my family, we ski a lot. So on the weekends, I teach ski lessons for like a Waterville Valley Adaptive Ski Program. So I don't get paid, but I get a season's pass. So I get a lot of volunteer hours from that.
Nice.
Very nice. Well, we like to hear that you ladies are engaged in your community and helping people, and you've done a wonderful job with your presentations. And congratulations again on those nice big trophies that
Thank you.
you've brought home. We're very supportive, and we're very pleased to have you on, and we just want to say congratulations and keep up the good work. And Grace, certainly good luck at UVA. So
It looks like the program was recorded. The program was recorded?
I think it's being recorded on SCTV. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Michael, I should have the video probably tomorrow.
Great.
So
Fantastic. I'd also like to say thanks so much to Scituate Rotary Club. You know, you guys are supportive of what's going on in the schools, and you've contributed important stuff, especially to the 7th grade geography program. Back when you guys were in 7th grade, the Rotary was actively sort of helping Ms. Pastor, Ms. O'Malley kind of develop some different kinds of lessons and units. And I totally appreciate the volunteering question, you know, service above self. My dad was a lifelong Rotarian, and it's without folks volunteering and committed to the good of all, we don't have the nation that we want to have. So appreciate the focus there, always from the Rotary Club. So thanks ever so much, and really appreciate. And girls, you guys are rock stars. Thank you. Really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank
Well,
you so
we
much.
appreciate your kind words, Steve. We look forward to continuing to help and engage with you guys at the high school. And again, ladies, congratulations. Well done. Keep up the good work. If we can help you in any way, let us know. We appreciate you taking the time to tell us all about and educate us on what you had going on. And so we appreciate your time tonight to tell us and teach us. So,
Yeah.
does
Thank you so
anybody have
much.
any questions before I let these ladies go, and Steve and or close the meeting? Okay. Well, we appreciate you all taking the time and to be here. So, and if we can help in any way, please let us know.
Thank you so
Thanks
much
very
for
much.
having us.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gene.